Welcome back to Your Body Speaks. I am so excited for our guest today. I just had a conversation with her prior to jumping on, and I know you're going to love her as much as I do. But before I even tell you who it is, I want to let you know or read their bio. We only have one part of the Courageous Wellness team today, and that's Aly French. But Aly French and Erica Stein are both certified integrative nutrition health coaches with advanced training in gut health and hormone health. It's two big whammies in the health and wellness world. In 2020, their company expanded into the Courageous Wellness Collective, which provides integrative nutrition and health coaching services. Their goal with CWC, so Courageous Wellness Collective, is to extend the podcast community, uniting people in their unique wellness journeys, keeping an eye on inclusivity and accessibility, which we will be talking about on the show today. Aly and Erica have spoken at events across the country, including Covenant House, California, the Wayfarer Foundation, Westside Food Bank of Los Angeles, Financial Women's Association NYC, elementary school classrooms, and wellness experts on the CW network affiliates in Austin, Texas, and Miami, Florida. These women are powerhouses. I'm so excited you get to meet Aly today. They also have worked and collaborated with brands throughout the entire wellness space. And in 2024, the Courageous Wellness podcast joined the Cloud 10 network. And in 2025, they passed 400 episodes, milestone. What an incredible accomplishment. Aly, thank you so much for being here. I know Erica's not feeling well, but I'm
Yeah,
so excited that we have 50% of the Courageous Wellness team.
50%. Well, thank you for having me. I know she's bummed to miss it, but I will do my best to represent us as one.
I totally know you are going to do just fine. I can already tell. So, Aly, let's start from the very beginning. Courageous Wellness really grew out of your personal experience facing cancer in your 20s. And then Erica also, who achieved a 50-pound weight loss through a self love journey. How did these
Hmm.
health challenges between both of you really blend and become Courageous Wellness and the launch of the podcast?
Yeah, so it's kind of nice now to look back. We told this story over and over again in the early years, and it's been a while. So we came together in 2018. I had known Erica sort of socially. We both are practicing Buddhists in a lay Buddhist organization, and we met through our Buddhist practice, but we weren't really close friends. We just were sort of socially knew each other, and it was lovely to see each other, that kind of thing. But I had actually been a full-time performing artist. I was in musical theater, and I was living abroad for a while. I was in Tokyo for a year and a half doing shows, working for Disney there, singing. And when I came back to LA, Erica and I reconnected. And prior to that experience, when I was 29, had a cancer diagnosis. And Erica had known about this and known it was something I had gone through, but I don't think she really knew sort of intimate details. And same thing with her. I met her sort of after this sort of big transformation that she had had in her own health journey. And so we didn't really know each other's stories, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
these stories and these experiences that we go through are deeply personal, but also I think there's sometimes a stigma in sharing some of this stuff with people. And Erica actually invited me. She invited some friends to a workout class, and she invited me. And I was the only one who could go, but we had never hung out one on one before. And
Wow.
she was like, she told me afterwards, she was kind of nervous that I said yes. And I was like, well, I had come back from a contract. I was the only unemployed, performer that you knew that didn't have a day job, so could go to an exercise class with you at that time. And so the two of us spent time together for the first time, just alone. And we started sharing these stories. And I started kind of sharing more intimate details about
Mhm.
my cancer journey. And she shared with me that she had had this 50-pound weight loss, but it really wasn't intentional.
Mm.
at all. And so, how that kind of came to be and what that experience was like, and even having some challenges after the fact with both physically, like with gut dysbiosis, but also emotionally and mentally with some body kind of dysmorphia and just different sort of things that kind of came about as a result of that. And so we really enjoyed sharing these kind of components of our stories with each other. And it sparked this idea, and neither of us had ever done a podcast before, but we were like, it's really helped us to share our stories with each other. I bet that if we started sharing other sort of stories in the wellness space, it would really help other people. And that was kind of it. That was the spark of the idea. We had no idea what we were doing, but we just started it. And so much grew out of that. And so that was that's how we came together. And I'm happy to share more about my own sort of cancer journey, but that was sort of like truly how her world and her story and my story kind of came together and created this platform, years later and 400 plus episodes later.
I love that. It's so beautiful. You said so much there. I want to unpack, and I do want to hear a little bit more
Sure.
about the cancer journey as well, because you had a really diverse background. So it's not
Yeah.
like you just rolled into integrative
No.
certified nutrition and doing what you're doing, and you're like, yes, I just knew since the third grade that I was going to be in nutrition. No, you were all over the place. And you mentioned it before, not during the recording, but you grew up in New York. You went to
Mm-hmm.
high school in New York, and now you're on the West Coast. So tell us
Yes.
how that happened. But also, just to comment on the stigma around the health and not health and wellness per se, but when people struggle with certain things, they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to talk about it. They don't, it's almost like people carry shame
Yeah.
around certain things that they go through. And it happens more often than not, and I know a lot of the listeners will have their own personal experience with this, where all of a sudden somebody you knew maybe from afar, you were Facebook friends with them, or you knew the uncle of the cousin, whatever, and then all of a sudden they're gone. They drop dead or something happened. You're like, what in the world? They were really young. I don't know how this happened. And ultimately, it comes out that they've been struggling with something for years that they
Mm-hmm.
never even spoke about, right? And so there is this hush hush mentality where people just be quiet, this is my way of dealing with it. I'm going to pretend la 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 and not get the support of other people. So while you went through your cancer issue prior to meeting Erica, and Erica went through her 50-pound weight loss prior to meeting you, you guys came together and was like, we need to talk about this. We need to create a platform so people can share these stories and talk
Yeah.
about it so people feel like, oh, they get me.
Yeah.
They get me. So share with us a little bit more in terms of what happened to you when you were 29 and what that
Sure.
journey looked like.
Yeah, well, I was performing pretty much full time. I was based in LA doing a lot of musical theater here that existed, a little bit more existed at the time. And then I was, like I said, I was doing contracts abroad. I was traveling. I did some national touring too. And so I was always pretty aware of my body because of the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
It was my instrument in many ways. So I was always interested in health. I was always interested in fueling myself in nutrition. Specifically, like I would experiment. I did all different wild experimental sort of ways of eating and things like that. And I figured out what worked and definitely what didn't. And so I was always curious about it. And kind of, as we were talking about in the episode with you, I was always sort of collecting data on how
Yeah.
my body felt, especially because I was asking it to do a lot for my work, whether it was singing, moving, dancing, acting. It was like being on stage is a very, very physical experience. So I kind of approached my physical health from that perspective and was always sort of very aware and tried to be as in tune as possible as I could. But I was actually doing a show and I was dancing a lot in it. And I sometimes would get bruises as a part of the show, just whacking things. And I had this one costume that a friend who was also in the show would always sort of help me with a costume change. And I was doing it long enough that she noticed on my back a bruise that wasn't going away. And I was like, oh, weird. That's strange. There was no pain or anything, but she was like, I would get this checked out. And so I actually did. Went to the doctors because it was one winter and I was like sick and I had this kind of terrible virus that 3 weeks, wasn't going away. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to the doctor and make sure I don't have an infection or anything. And
Mm.
my doctor wasn't in the practice. And I love her. She's still my doctor this day. But I saw a different doctor in the practice. And at the same time, when I went in for the illness, I asked him to sort of check my back. And he's like, oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. You can ignore it. But I felt that no, something, I don't know, just like a little intuitive thing. So when I went back for just sort of an annual
Mm.
with my doctor, I said, can you take a look at this? And she was like, absolutely. And she's like, I don't know what's going on with this, but let's keep an eye on it. It basically looked like a lot of broken blood vessels, like a bruise
Mm.
about the size of a quarter on my upper back. And the next time I went in, she said, you know what? I don't know what's going on here, but I'd like to send you for further testing because I'd like to be safe. And she originally sent me to a dermatologist because it was showing up on my skin, or really in my skin, because again, it presented as a bruise. And they didn't know, but they decided to biopsy. And then it came back and it was cancerous, and it was a very rare type of tumor. And it's not a skin cancer. It was a tumor that kind of started in the skin and grows down. And it was called dermatofibroma sarcoma protuberans,
Mm.
DFSP, which most people don't even know about because it's just
Mm.
that rare. And ultimately, I wound up having to go to oncology. I'll spare you all the sort of long-winded version of it, but I wound up getting connected with a great oncologist at UCLA. I had to have multiple surgeries to get it all excised, but
Mm.
I was able to, after my third surgery, it was all gone. And I fortunately caught it early enough where I didn't have to do additional treatment. I just had to do the surgery. So no chemo or radiation, which I was very, very grateful for. And that we caught it at that phase. And that was it. It was random. Doesn't run in my family. It's not genetic, predisposition. It was just year one in 1 million people that get this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a journey, but thankfully, there were people, because you know what's interesting when you say that on your back? I feel like our back is one of the areas of our body that we don't see very often. You know what? Yeah, we take a shower, we maybe have a full-size mirror to look at ourselves, but we're not really observing what's going on our back. We're not looking at it so closely, and so for you to have that person that you were doing performance with, who was helping you with that costume, who was like, "Whoa, look at this." And the doctor to dismiss it, but then the other doctor, your actual doctor who you are still with, to say, "We gotta keep an eye on it, further testing, all the things." It was just like, had that not been part of that
Yeah.
journey, had that not been part of the story, it could have been a lot worse. It could have just
Absolutely. And my
yeah,
oncologist, when I remember going back for checkups, right?
right.
6 month checkup or whatever,
Yeah.
he showed me, he was funny. He was the guy who was always walking. He's like, walk with me, walk with me. I felt like I was always on an episode of, how Law and Order, they always shoot it where everybody's just walking, doing things. That's what it felt like in real life with him. But he took me into a room and showed me on a computer screen images from a surgery he had just done on someone who had the same tumor that
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah.
and they had to have their leg amputated. I mean, I didn't even recognize what it was. And I don't know that he probably should have shown me those pictures. I couldn't recognize the person. They were,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's like, this is what happens when you don't catch it or you don't do
Right.
anything about it.
Right. Right.
And I couldn't even recognize that it was someone's leg. I mean, it was, so I felt yes, I felt very protected. I'm still very close
Yeah.
friends with that friend who basically told me go get
Great.
this checked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because
it's just,
also
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say, depending on where that presents, in that case, when you're saying you saw the image and it was their leg and their leg got amputated, yours being on your back, how close that is to the spinal cord,
Yeah.
how much
And your
that could have
organs.
and your organs. So neurologically, it could have ended up in a very and yeah, in all the different ways.
And I was so
Wow.
fortunate that we caught it because it was a slow growing, it can become aggressive, but when I caught
Yeah.
it, it had not transformed to become an aggressive
So
tumor.
good.
So we caught it. I had to have my fascia removed on my upper back, but it
Okay.
didn't penetrate the muscle yet. So I was really, really lucky.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Oh my gosh, so incredible. Oh, there's a reason you were supposed to be here
Yeah. Yeah.
all these years later.
I know.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Of
I
course.
want to transition a little bit out and talk about courageous wellness. And what we were mentioning too is, just having this platform where these stories can be shared. for other people to go, "Oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not walking through this by myself." So courageous wellness in and of itself has felt very grounded and human. You guys are not extreme. You're not about perfection,
No.
optimizing all the you're not anti all of that, but it's like, let's kind of come back to,
Yeah.
the middle.
Yes.
How do you personally navigate the balance between caring deeply about health, but also not letting wellness become another source of stress or self-judgment?
Yeah, what a good question. And I should share with your audience, please go check out your awesome episode on our show because we go deep into this. But
Yes.
yeah, it's hard. I think over time, things have changed, right? So even since we sort of entered this space, I remember in the early days, Erica and I pretty quickly recognized that a lot of these wellness trends and wellness things were very inaccessible to most people. And that was sort of the glaringly obvious, I'm going to say, flaw within the space was that it was really exclusive in a lot of ways. And so that's something we wanted to kind of bring light to in the beginning. And it's not that we don't enjoy some of like the fun wellnessy trends, but to
Mhm.
become too dogmatic or think that you need some of those things in order to strive in your own health journey is just not the case. Like, so we want
Yeah.
to try to, we try to debunk some of that from the early days because we're like, most people can't afford this, or most people
Mhm.
don't have, maybe live in a place where these things are available to them, XYZ, whatever it might be. Also, the space was not particularly inclusive in even with able or disabled bodies. There's just so much
Mhm.
stuff. So it wasn't really being presented or marketed as for everybody. And so we just wanted to draw light to that. So that was something like in our sort of perspective from the early days. But to lead towards now, as you and I were discussing on our show, things have changed so much.
Mhm.
The internet has changed, social media has changed, the algorithms know you, and man, do they sell to you. And so,
Ooh.
to be honest, it's gotten even harder. I do think there is the positive side of all that is that there are more avenues, there is more accessibility, there's more awareness around certain things, there's more voices speaking out against certain inaccessibilities, and also just sort of like some ridiculous stuff too. But that being said, there's just more and more and more of everything. And
Yeah.
so, how do I navigate it? I mean, just like anybody else, probably. As I mentioned, having an awareness from the early days was helpful. But I'll give you a recent example. I found myself as a new mom being kind of bombarded by information on my own algorithms. And I'm not chronically online either. And I really had to, one of the ways that I sort of navigated some of this stuff was to step away a little bit more and just as you so kind of beautifully teach, get in touch with what felt right for me in my postpartum journey because it was different than a lot of the things that I was seeing online, even in my breastfeeding journey, which was not easy. Um, it is now over. And certain things like that, that I sort of wanted to do certain ways. And I had to really pivot and listen to what was best for myself, my life, and my own mental and physical health. And so I guess this is a long winded way to say just tuning out some of that and trying to tune in more to me and say, I can consume stuff, but do I resonate with it? Like, what is my reaction to it? Not what are they telling me, but do I vibe with this or do I vibe with some of it? I think that's also
Mhm.
okay too. We live in a world of such extreme sort of polarization around so much
Yeah.
stuff, especially in the health
Yeah.
and wellness space. It's like, does this align with, my trusted medical professionals? Does this align with my gut? Is this just something I want to try,
Yeah.
and see if it works and sort of the risk assessment in all of that. And I think that's how I try to navigate it now.
It's such a beautiful way to navigate it though, Allie. I know we had this conversation or part of it too on your show, but that's exactly what it's about is really listening to, like you were saying, trusted medical professionals, people who are taking care of your health, but also trusting your gut. Is this right? And then recognizing that it's not all or nothing. It's
Mhm.
not, I am never going to cold plunge. I'm never going to use a red light or I'm going to do this. You can do it. You can do these things. You don't need to do them to the extremes, sitting for 45 minutes or It can be a 10-minute session of red light therapy or whatever. So it makes it where it's actually sustainable, like we were even talking about. And one of the things you mentioned in that response was this accessible wellness and how even courageous wellness came about too, because the accessibility of some of these is just like, okay, well, you got to be in a top 1% in order to have all of the gadgets and the machines and all the things that quote unquote really make an impact, because none of those counterfeit things, if you bought one for $500, it's not effective. It had to
Right.
been the $5,000 model. That one is effective, right?
Yeah.
So this accessible wellness is an issue, especially in this really loud culture. What does it actually look like in real life, especially for someone who might be overwhelmed, burnout, or feeling like they're trying everything to no avail?
Yeah. Well, first, I would say, what are the things you can do for free in your own life? I think sometimes we are talking about the marketing constantly, like marketed to you, like, oh, I need to
Mhm.
buy this thing or buy that thing. No, like, what are the things that we can do as human beings for free in our day to day? And it doesn't have to be, as you said, like my approach, especially working with clients, is not all or nothing. It's like,
Mhm.
how can we make little incremental steps in our days that can lead up over time to making us feel a little bit better? And that's what I try to use as the gauge in my own life. But when I'm working with people too, I want to help you feel good. What does that
Mhm.
mean? And do you remember what that feels like if you're not feeling good right now? Like, because I think we normalize a lot of like feeling a little bit subpar, or feeling just sort of running on fumes a lot of the time. And to get in touch with what feeling good looks like and what can we do for free right now to help us just move the needle a little bit. And then from there, if you're feeling pretty good or you have access to good whole foods, if you're, trying to incorporate more whole foods into your diet, things like that. And are there barriers to that for you too? And that's real. Not everybody has access to whole foods. Not everybody
Mhm.
can afford them. And I'm also not here to demonize processed foods. There's a lot of ways to do it where we can kind of optimize feeling our best and supporting our nutrition in a way that sometimes takes a little bit more creativity, if accessibility is an issue. But yeah, just kind of approaching these, like, where can we start? Small things to our plates, small things to our day. Maybe that's getting up from your computer and taking a 10-minute walk every couple hours just to
Yes.
move your body and get your blood flowing. Or maybe that's taking a 15-minute to 20-minute walk after your lunch to kind of help your blood sugar, right?
Mhm.
All of those types of little things that actually do add up. And you don't have to go from zero to buying the red light mat, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. One of the things you said there about the little things and going for the walk, and I was thinking as you were saying, it popped up in my head, it's like even chewing your food a little longer, right?
Mhm.
We consume food so quickly in today's day and age. We're eating on the run, we're shoving food down our throats. Even chewing food, it could be the most unhealthy, not that I'm advocating for that, but processed food, right? If you don't have accessibility to having fresh vegetables and you're eating
Yeah.
frozen carrots, you put in the microwave, chew them, chew them. Your body will enjoy that a lot better than you just swallowing a full carrot.
And I have to say, I always make a case for frozen veggies too. Frozen veggies are awesome because they're
Yeah.
picked at the peak, sort of nutrient density and then
Mhm.
frozen. So if you don't have access to fresh, what I love about frozen, and I will, talk about this ad nauseum, is that A, they can last a lot longer, right? So you have less food waste if that's an issue too,
Yep.
and you can roast them, you can season them, and it's a way to still consume whole foods, right? Even if it's not
Yeah.
always fresh. There are ways, and it can be more affordable. And it's also a great way if you do want to try to incorporate some organic things into
Mhm.
your kitchen. It's cheaper to buy them frozen, but it's a way to do that. So I just like to draw attention to some of that stuff because I think people, yeah, we demonize some stuff that we don't need to, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It happens so much. It's like, "This is so bad," and then everybody starts running down that lane of, "Yeah, this is so bad."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Where are you getting your information from, people? What's going
Yeah.
on here?"
I know. And also quantity matters too,
Yes. Yes.
So it's a little bit
Yeah.
of this or a little bit of that.
Yeah.
is not going to kill you.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
Okay, transitioning gears a little bit
Yeah.
away from the whole courageous wellness and what you guys are
Sure.
about. So, the thing that you and Erica focus on mainly is hormone and gut health, if I
Yeah.
understand correctly with clients. So, from everything you've seen just in the entire time you've been in this space, and this is more of a little bit of a hot take, is
Yeah.
what do you think most people are getting wrong when it comes to their gut health or their hormone health, especially the stuff that's talked about online, right? We talk about the
Oh, yeah.
algorithm and all the quote
Yeah.
unquote influencers. It's just like, okay, what's really going on here?
So I would say with the people I actually work with, gut and hormone health is obviously intricately linked, right?
Yes. Yes.
If we're talking basics, and you don't have any sort of extreme stuff going on, maybe that's unique to you, but just kind of like across the board, protein and fiber can do a lot for our lives.
Yay.
I mean,
Preach it,
we
girl.
are
Preach it.
our gut microbes need that fiber, and the protein and the fiber together with some healthy fats, we really focus on blood sugar balance.
Mhm.
And that does wonders for our hormones too, especially if you are a woman in sort of like your menstruating years.
Mhm.
Also, if you're moving in through perimenopause and menopause, I
Mhm.
mean, it's important
Yeah.
to get that protein and get that fiber.
Yeah. Huge. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
my hot
massive.
take. I mean, it's really is massive, and it's what I see the most results around too. If we're talking about really our nutrition and like
Right.
approaching gut health and hormone health and how that works together from a very basic point of view, I mean,
Mhm.
I've seen massive changes very quickly in people's lives by really focusing on that at every meal.
So a follow-up question to that would be because I experience this a lot with my patient base and even my people online in my online community. A lot of times it's almost if it's so easy, they're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No. So when you're saying, hey, let's get your gut under control, let's get your hormones, let's get everything regulated well, let's put
Yeah.
protein and fiber and healthy fats. And they're
Yeah.
like, Allie, no, 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 I need to do X, Y, and Z. And you're just like, no, it's that easy.
It's that easy. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
what I like it because it's like, what do I need? Not what do I need to restrict, but what do I need to add to my plate? And it's
Right.
surprisingly hard for people to get enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're absolutely right. I see that too. It's just like, okay, a lot of times that's what I'm saying. You need X amount of more grams of this macronutrient. And
Yeah.
they're just like, this seems too easy. I'm like, well, try it. See what happens. Your body will respond. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I mean, I had one client that was very didn't need a lot of help in implementing things in their life because they are an athlete and that type of thing, just very disciplined. So once they made the little switches, I mean, it was remarkable. Within a couple weeks, hormonal acne just cleared up. It was just their cycle came back, in a very regular way. It was just all of the things really just started, their body just responded to it immediately. And that's always so exciting for me because I'm like, yeah, this is great. This is life changing.
You know that you said something there I want to hit on for a little bit is the little small tweaks. A lot of times people are not very far off from what they need to have this massive impact of in their health, right? Like you were saying with that client.
Yeah.
It is micro tweaks and sometimes once you get really dialed in, you're just really flowing. Things are just going. You come back online, you feel like you're thinking clearly, your brain fog's gone, your bloating's gone, you're using the bathroom every day. Like you said, the hormonal acne, it's massive. So we can't discount the small, seemingly inconsequential steps because they
Yeah.
are so important.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say they're more
yeah.
important than any sort of, as you were saying about the biohacking stuff, like,
Yes.
sure, you can experiment with that. That comes later if you want to, but it's not at the foundation of any of this, right? Yeah.
No, totally. Okay, so I ask this question typically towards the end of the episode. I will give you a chance. I want people to be able to connect with you and learn all about what you're doing, also listen to Courageous Wellness and follow along with you guys. But before I get to that, because the podcast is called Your Body Speaks, I always
Yeah.
close out with this question on how you believe the body speaks to us and what listening to the body has taught you.
Yes. Well, I believe that in many kind of direct ways, my body has spoken to me and told me sort of the shifts that I've needed to make at any different season of my life, right? We were talking a little bit about that earlier, where
Mhm.
we go through different seasons and we might have different needs at different times. And I guess similarly to you, when I've had honestly even strong cravings or strong sort of symptoms or messages, whether they're positive or negative, listening to that and getting curious around it has been life changing for me. And I
Mhm.
changed I mean, I was a vegetarian for 4 years when up until my surgeries. And I was craving red meat when I was healing. And I listened to that and I've been a meat eater ever since. But my body was really needing some iron, some nutrients to help heal some protein because I didn't know what I was doing back then. I think you can be plant based in a very healthy way, but it takes some work and education around it. That was not the case for me. And so making that big pivot, I listened to it and I felt amazing when I did. So those are just little instances where in my life or listening to my intuition to stay with getting my back checked, right? Things like that. It's just like anytime I can really hear something, whether it's extreme or little, just getting curious around it has been very helpful. Those are examples of how my body has spoken to me. What was part two of that?
No,
That's
that
it.
was the question. Yeah,
Okay.
how have you come to believe that the body is speaking? And it was beautiful because you shared your personal experience in this and
Yeah.
how making those shifts because your body was asking for it and following along, not just because I have to be this
Yes.
dogmatic vegetarian because this is what I need to do, but it's just like, "Oh my gosh, I need the iron to support my system." And just like you said, there is healthy ways of doing things, and if that
Yeah.
is what you're feeling called to and your body responds to more plant-based, I am not telling you to not be
Sure.
plant-based, I'm saying to do it healthy for you,
Yeah.
right? Not getting the thing is I feel like in today's culture, people really get caught in these lanes of thinking where they
Yeah.
cannot veer to any direction or they beat themselves up, right? There's this whole notion like, "I didn't optimize my sleep and my HRV was really low and you're beating the crap out of yourself all day
Yeah.
long. And instead of just going, "I'm grateful for you, body. Thank you for waking me up this morning so
Yeah.
I can be obsessive and optimize again for the next night."
Absolutely. And if I would say too, if you're collecting data like on a ring or a watch or whatever
Yes,
it might be, and it's supportive, great. But
right.
I know people who've had to kind of take breaks from that because they would get so stressed out about it.
Yeah,
And in that case, maybe it's not supportive at that time of your life. And then make the choice, you decide, then make the choice to take it off and
yeah.
give yourself a break. So I think, again, it's just really going with the seasons and know that our bodies change, our needs change, our lives change. And so not staying too dogmatic around one thing forever,
Mhm.
I think it is probably my approach.
So key. Love that, Allie. Well, tell my listeners how they can follow along with you, how they can connect if there's anything
Yes.
else. If there's something I didn't ask you that you wanna share as well, feel free.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed being on your show. So thank
Yeah.
you. You can find us on Instagram at Courageous Wellness. Our website's courageouswellness.net. We are on TikTok, but very inactive, if I'm going to be honest.
Me
um,
too, me too.
yeah. I'm the worst. I'm like really, I could be a lot better at social media, but we're just not. And yeah, please reach out. We try to check messages and on all podcast platforms, you can find us as
Yeah,
well.
I love that. Yeah, their show's amazing. Listen to quite a few episodes. I love just a very diverse group of people, and they're just such great interviewers. And you'll get to hear Erica too, even though she wasn't able
Yeah.
to be with us today. But yeah, definitely go check out Courageous Wellness podcast and find them on their website and Instagram. And I'll have that all in the show notes as well. So make it easy for you guys, like I always do. So thank you so much, Allie, for being here. Really appreciate the time that you spent with me. I know this is going to be a well loved episode, and maybe we'll have to do it again soon. So have
Yes,
a
thank
great
you
rest
so
of your
much.
day, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Thank you.